Example 3, we have x minus 1 all over x squared plus 3x plus 2 plus 3x divided by x plus 2, all of that equals to x minus 1 all over x plus 1. Remember, students, the first step is to factor out your denominator. And yes, guys, we have already studied factoring, so you guys should be very comfortable in factoring, okay? If you don't, please go to tutorial. We can definitely help you with that skill. Okay, next is, hey, don't forget, find the restrictions, okay? So this one, x cannot be negative 2. This one, x cannot be negative 1. This one can't be negative 2. I don't need to write it again. And this one can't be negative 1. So again, we don't need to write it again. So currently, there are two x values that we cannot have. And then from here, let's see what the lowest common denominator is. We have x plus 2. Okay, so that's, I'm going to take one of those. And then we have x plus 1. So that's another one that will be part of our lowest common denominator. And again, we did study how to find the LCD already. So if you are still struggling with this, please come to tutorial. So next is we are going to multiply each and every term, student, by the lowest common denominator. I'm going to copy the question over again. And I'm going to copy it factor form, okay, just like that. Give myself some space. Then over here, copy this down, give myself some space because I'm going to fit the multiplication of the LCD in there. So from each one, go in, multiply by x plus 2 times x plus 1 times, okay, each term, y'all. Don't forget, okay, just like that. And if you want parentheses, that's okay too. Use parentheses. That's really a personal preference, just like that. So parentheses, parentheses. Anytime, honestly, if you have more than one term on the numerator, it's actually a good idea to use parentheses because that way it will help you distribute correctly. Okay, let's reduce. X plus 2 is reduced. This one's gone. Remember, if you guys multiply this correctly, you should not have a denominator any longer, okay? On the top now, y'all, we have x minus 1. Over here, we have 3x times x plus 1. And on the right side, we have x minus 1 times x plus 2. Now let's distribute and solve regularly. This is going to be 3x squared plus 3x equals x times x. Whoops, that got all funky. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is positive 2x minus x and minus 2. Over here, we got 3x squared. And we have an x here and 3x. That will give us 4x. Drop down the minus 1. Over here, we have x squared. 2x and a negative x is now a positive x minus 2. Can you see that we have x squared on both sides? So from here, make sure we set it equals to 0. That means I'm going to move everything to one side. And it doesn't matter which side you guys move to. Just pick a side and go with it. So now on the right side, I have 0. On the left side, we have 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals to 0. So to solve this quadratic equation, we need to factor. And as you can see, we are using lots and lots of prior skills here. So again, if you're not good with factoring, if you're not good with finding LCD, please, please, please go to tutorial and ask for help. So the factors of 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 is going to come out to be 2x plus 1 and x plus 2. I'm sorry, x plus 1. Okay, sorry, 2x plus 1 times the quantity of x plus 1. Take each factor, set it equals to 0. So 2x plus 1 equals 0. X plus 1 equals to 0. So this one, y'all, x is going to come out to be negative 1. That's not too bad. Over here, subtract 1 from both sides. So 2x equals negative 1. Divide both sides by 2. So x is negative 1 over 2. And remember, we got to take what we have, compare with our restrictions. Let's see what they were. Our restriction earlier said that x can never, ever, ever, ever be negative 2 and negative 1. So we cannot keep negative 1. So students, we only have one answer. X is a negative half. Again, if we're going too fast, please just pause it and write it all down. Let's go to example number 4. x divided by x minus 1 equals 1 minus 1 over 1 minus x, okay? I normally like to write my questions, okay, in order. What I mean by that is in descending order. I'm sorry, this is a minus. So I'm going to write it when the highest power of x is first. So this is a negative x plus 1. Then from here, I like to have positive leading coefficient. That means whatever the first number is, I want it to be positive. So I'm going to factor out negative 1. If I factor out negative 1, I now would have a positive x and a minus 1. Okay, so when you factor out a negative 1 from here, you would have an x minus 1. Well, this tells me that I have a negative and a negative. A negative and a negative now would make it a positive. So that, students, is equivalent to our original. Since that's the case, can you guys see that it's easier for me to find the lowest common denominator? Since they both have the same denominator, the LCD is exactly the same. And don't forget the restrictions, right? X can never ever be positive 1. So don't forget our restriction. So we are going to go in and multiply each and every term by the LCD. So x minus 1. Don't forget to multiply this as well by x minus 1 and this as well by x minus 1, which is our LCD. With that said, we can now reduce the denominator, okay? Can't do anything with that because there's no denominator. So here's what we have. We have an x, and this is now 1 times x minus 1, which is an x minus 1, plus 1. So as you can see, these two are now reduced. Well, what do you do when you have x equals x? Would you agree that x equals x, meaning that it's always true? Doesn't matter what x value we pick, it will always equal to each other. But, so that means normally we would write all real solutions, right? But remember, we also have a restriction of x can never ever be 1. So what we want to write is all real solutions except 1. So all real solutions except x equals to 1, because that was the restriction, okay? You can even write it like this. X can never be 1, just like that, okay?